boxing truth here. You just can't help but laugh your ass off when it comes to Billy Joe Saunders. After all this time, after waiting months to finally for him and his team to reveal the opponent, it came to no surprise when he finally revealed that Alter Akavov was going to be the opponent for his first title defense of the WBO that he won last December. It's been a lost year for Billy Joe Saunders, 10 months of inactivity. And his next opponent was actually revealed weeks before by Golden Boy, as they were trying to set up a guarantee for Saunders to fight Canelo if he fought one of the guys Golden Boy wanted him to fight on the undercard. Saunders had a guaranteed shot at Canelo. All he had to do was accept the fight with either Gabriel Rosado, Willie Monroe, or Curtis Stevens. And he turned all those guys down, plus a guaranteed shot at Canelo in order to get a much safer fight, to cherry pick someone, the weakest link, at least one of them, within the top 15 of WBO rankings. And when it was finally revealed that it was official that Saunders was going to fight Akavov, I had the same reaction as Dan Rafael. I mean, it was mega LOLs. I was laughing my ass off. And Dan Rafael didn't bite his tongue. He let it be known that it was a laughable fight, that the fans had to wait 10 months for Saunders to finally announce it. And this whole fucking time, it was a cherry-pick fight against a guy who's rated number 12 in the WBO. But Saunders will lie to the people, to the fans. He also lied to Kugan Cassius that Akavov is rated number 11. No, he's not. He's rated number 12, trying to make it look less of a cherry pick than it actually is. And I watched some footage of Akavov. I don't really usually talk about fighters I don't know unless I see something about them, some footage, some tape. And the guy ain't much. He's not elite. He's not even world class. He's not that strong. He's not that fast. He is what he is. He's a C-level fighter that's not really fought anybody. He's what's interesting about him is that I found out he's an Al Heyman client. He's promoted by Lou DiBella. He's a Russian, but he's based out in Brooklyn. He's been fighting on the DiBella series out there in New York. And he was picked as the opponent for Saunders' next fight. And you just hope that this will lead to bigger and better things. But Saunders is so full of shit, continues to contradict himself, will tell the media and the fans, will tell Golovkin that he's ready for whenever date he wants, and then he fights Akavov. And then he'll say he wants to fight in December, that he's willing to fight Golovkin in December, knowing full damn well that Golovkin and Jacobs are in deep negotiations, and that Jacobs is the mandatory to Golovkin's Super WBA title. But yes, when Saunders says that fight could be overruled by unification, you just know Saunders is full of shit. He doesn't want to fight Golovkin in December because Frank Warren will continue to tell the public that he wants to make that fight either in February or March. And it's also come out of Saunders' own mouth as well. He wants to fight Golovkin in February or March. So it seems to me that Frank Warren is the guy who controls Saunders' career, picks the opponent, and sets up where he's going to fight, and when he's actually going to fight Golovkin. Now, the good news is they're saying the money is getting close to what they want, that it's getting close to the life-changing money he desires for a Gennady Golovkin fight. But it's just unbelievable that Saunders turned down that guaranteed shot at Canelo. Even though Canelo's out with an injury, they could have fought next May for Saunders' WBO title. And to me, I was actually surprised Golden Boy was pushing for that fight, because they want they want to at least maybe get a strap to make negotiations for a Golovkin fight even more complicated if Canelo can somehow bring some hardware to the table with the addition of his A status in that fight. Would make things even more interesting. But considering Saunders' style, the type of style he brings to the table, I found it very surprising that Canelo's team and Golden Boy were pushing for that fight, were even willing to give him a guaranteed shot, at least according to reports, if Saunders elected to fight an opponent of Golden Boy's choosing on that Canelo undercard. I mean, if I'm handling Canelo, I would stay away from the Saunders fight because I don't like the style for Canelo. It's not the type of style that really suits him. Not to say that Saunders would, defeat him or he would be heavily favored or something like that. But it's not a style that will make Canelo look like $1 million. It'll be a difficult fight. Now, Saunders, it is what it is. He cherry-picked Artur Akavov, a guy who's just ain't that good. He's not, I don't even know how he's rated, but it doesn't take much to get rated by the sanctioning bodies. There's only a few criteria you have to meet in order to be rated by a sanctioning body. And Saunders, he should win the fight. It's the reason why they picked Akavov. It's a long layoff. He's coming off inactivity. And if he has an off night with Akavov, though, if he can't look spectacular or have a decent outing against Akavov, he might as well just hang up the gloves or vacate his strap if he can't decisively defeat Artur Akavov. Now, another opponent that was mentioned for that fight was a decent opponent. I actually would have been interested. Rob Brandt was considered as an opponent for Saunders for his return in 2016. But it's pretty obvious why that didn't happen. Rob Brandt would have been a much more formidable foe. A guy with some momentum coming off knockout wins would have been more interesting. A guy that's been at least had some exposure in the United States, at least on Showbox. But Saunders didn't take the fight. He turned down a bunch of fights in the interim. And now we're finally going to get the fight between him and Akavov that was rumored to be happening. Well, Frank Warren was trying to make that happen for him on the Canelo undercard, which Golden Boy declined. They want him to fight a known fighter in the States in order to build more intrigue for a possible Canelo-Billy Joe Saunders fight. But very disappointing. And even though the fans are having a field day making fun of Saunders and also Canelo, Saunders, he's a pretty good fighter. He's got the speed. He's got a style that's difficult. He's a slick guy. He's not easy to hit. He's not in the best condition when it comes to the top middleweights. He could be in better shape, but he throws a good combinations. He's fast. He's got good footwork. He's slick. He's not easy to hit. Southpaw, difficult guy to fight. And he's had some good outings. He's fought solid opposition, even at the domestic level in the UK. Much better opposition compared to Akavov. And even though people shit on Saunders and Canelo the most, people view them as clowns for ducking Gennady Golovkin, the reality is, well, at least in my opinion, Billy Joe Saunders and Canelo Alvarez are the two toughest fights, at least the biggest tests for Golovkin to solve, based on the styles, based on the resume both guys bring to the table. Saunders, his resume is not as strong as Canelo's, but he's fought some solid guys, even at the domestic level. And he should win the fight against Akavov. He should try to look impressive, make a statement. I was disappointed in his last performance because he could have made a statement by knocking out Andy Lee. But after scoring 2 knockdowns, he just really couldn't pull the trigger. Didn't have a great outing. Didn't have much success after getting the knockdowns. Was too hesitant to throw. Was gun shy at times. But you just have to laugh your ass off when it comes to this situation with Saunders, wasting all that time and then finally fighting the guy he was rumored to fight weeks ago, and for it to be a reality, it was just too hard not to laugh. As soon as that report came out that he was going to be fighting Akavov. But let's see if he's true to his word. Let's see if he stops bullshitting. He doesn't want to fight Golovkin in December. That's complete bullshit. But let's see if he'll take the fight in February or March for all the marbles in the middleweight division. But he could have had that Canelo fight. Honestly, if I'm Saunders, I'd rather fight Canelo first than Gennady Golovkin. I don't know which is the bigger payday for him. Maybe he could get more fighting Canelo at a U.S. pay-per-view compared to fighting Golovkin in the U.K. for a U.K. pay-per-view, because the difference in values. There's just more money to be made in American pay-per-view if the fight could be pay-per-view between Canelo and Saunders. But just a wasted year for Saunders. Could have been more active. Not being a worthy champion, a guy that's cherry picking within the rankings. A lot of champions doing that, man. They don't fight the best available guy. They don't fight the number one contender. Would have been nice to see Saunders take on his number one contender, Kurtzitzi. He's rated number 1 in the WBO. But WBO has certain rules. They don't really enforce mandatories as strictly or as strongly as, say, the IBF. But it's the norm with a lot of belt holders. They opt to take voluntary defenses and choose the weakest link within the top 15 rankings of an organization. Just look at Deontay Wilder's last 4 fights. All cherry-picked voluntaries. And this is going to be Billy Joe Saunders' first cherry-pick as a world champion. But we'll see if he goes for bigger game. The options are there. The fights are there. He's turned out a lot of fights, even a guaranteed shot at Canelo. But we'll see if he'll finally step up.